Hi, this is Zach Meir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Tuesday, the 16th of July. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which seems to be clinging on to the floor of that rising trend channel from back in October. The line there nominally around the 81.60 level, so we're above that. Want to see end-of-day closes above that. If we do break down below the line, then it's 80.70, which is that May support line projection, and also the floor of that falling May trend channel. 82.85 now the level to break above the 50-day line to get us back on track for an upside or an uptrend move within that channel. Eventually, if we're really lucky, we could get up to as high as 8,700 in the top of that channel, maybe by the end of the summer, but obviously at the moment that seems to be a long way away, especially given the multiple RSI failures at in the 55 zone, 55 out of 100 zone. That tends to be a rather ominous signal. And the longer it goes on, the more ominous it could become. Moving on to the DAX, and here it's been a story of trying to break through that line of resistance there from May. We had a bull trap through it, which is obviously not very welcome, around the 18,600 area. Current situation is that we're hoping that the market will remain above the floor of that rising trend channel around the 18,300 area. And while we're above that, then we're still looking for the big breakout towards the top of the channel and perhaps 20,000 by the end of the summer. If there is a rug pull, the worst here is expected to be no lower than 18,000, basically post-June support. Moving on to the Dow, and here the position is that market has managed to not only retest 40,000 but also stay above it. Top of the channel there, 42,000, which is what we're looking for by the end of next month, giving this market plenty of time, although the way things are going could actually get there rather sooner. And the stop loss at the moment around the 39,600 area, basically the June resistance zone. Not expecting anything lower than the 50-day line, and 39,000 anytime soon, which is the floor of that late July 2023 rising trend channel. The highlight of this week so far, I suppose, has been the recovery in Bitcoin. We had the clue here was basically the bullish divergence. So lower lows for July in the price window, but higher RSI trace. So that gave us the turnaround and the move to the 50-day line. Now we need to stay above that, around 63,700, to get to 70,000 plus, hopefully by the end of this month, the way things are going. At the moment, the worst we can see on the downside now, the 200-day moving average around 59,000. On to gold, which had a good end to last week and is building on that now, above 2,400, looking for obviously the record high levels, 2,450, and after that as high as 2,600. By the end of next month, by the end of August, at the top of that rising December trend channel. Worst case at the moment is we need to test the 50-day line around 2360, but the risk of that diminishing by the day, especially with this U-shaped turnaround that we've had since May. On to the stocks, and starting off with Bearwolf, which is a frequent flyer on the Bulletin Board Heroes. Here we've got this U-shaped turnaround and also support at the old May support zone in the 0.5 pence area. The longer we stay above that, and the 50-day line around the 0.59 level, looking for up to a penny by the end of next month, which is the top of that triangle there from back in April. Best case, if you're a fan of the shares, is to get up to 1.5 pence by the end of next month, but I think one has to keep our feet on the ground in terms of the upside, given how problematic this stock has been in the recent past. On to Caspian, and here you can see that we managed to find support above our initial target there around the 4.5 pence level. Above that, looking for up to 5.5 pence plus at the upper parallel of that triangle from back in September. Unfilled gap to the upside is the reason why we're excited about this, and we've also now got both the 50 and 200-day lines rising, so 5.5 pence plus now looks to be the minimum on the upside for Caspian. We're probably looking for 6-7 pence plus over the near term, but we need to stay above the initial April resistance at 4 pence, whatever happens. On to CAPIC, where it was suggested that the shares would be able to hit the 0.42 2.43 pence level, that red resistance line. That's exactly what they've done. In fact, they overshot. They went up to 0.46. Very pleased with that, especially after the break of that resistance line there, which basically was the trigger on the latest move. If you're a fan of the shares and looking for greater glories, then the next level up would be up towards 0.76, which is the upper parallel of that red resistance line projection from back in March. Ideally, we have as many closes as possible at 0.4 pence or above in the meantime, because obviously we've closed that gap there up to that level. Onto a stock which hardly anybody looks at, but here it is today, Earnz, where just a hint that today's move is the start of a turnaround for the shares. We're above the 50-day line for the first time since basically the end of February. Possibility here of a rising trend channel base with the target there as high as 17 or 18 pence over the next couple of months, but obviously it is early days yet, and if you're cautious, you probably want to see the shares break back above the April resistance, 8.5 pence plus, before assuming we are on our way. Moving on to Genedrive, which was the stock of the day yesterday. Here we continue with our bear trap iron reversal. Perhaps the 6% rise in the shares slightly disappointing given the magnitude of the news, but given that everyone and their mother obviously went into the stock on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there were not that many more fresh buyers maybe in the near term. Initial target here, the 200-day line, that's around 5.5 pence, best case up to 8 pence, and the top of that falling trend channel from October. Ideally, there's no end-of-day close now, back below 2.8 and the floor of the latest gap. On to Graft Polymer, which I was too senile to cover over the weekend, but here you can see that the shares look like they're regrouping. Looks like a mid-move consolidation, especially the longer we stay above 0.2 pence, the greater the chance not only of a move to the 50-day line, 0.36, but then also even up to retesting the June resistance of 0.6 pence sometime by the end of next month. But the key here, staying above the 0.2 level. The other point to note, if you're cautious, is that you want to see the RSI push above the neutral 50 level versus the mid-40s at the moment. Moving on to a stock or a company which I interviewed a month or two ago. Very impressive CEO. Don't normally say that, but he was very impressive indeed. And here we've got Iofina with a break of the May resistance, around 22 pence. Above that, we're looking for 31 pence as soon as the end of next month, backed by the latest gap and the now rising 50-day moving average. I want to see that the shares remain above that ahead of a move to 30 pence plus. On to Landore, which I've covered quite a few times, and it looks like we're ready for a new leg to the upside. Obviously, we hit the two targets there back in June, and we're hitting them again. We want to see an end-of-day close above the higher target, 4.6 pence. Above that, looking for up to 7.5 pence by the end of next month, which is the upper parallel of those two resistance line projections. But the key here, staying above the 200-day line at 3.8 pence. On to Metals One, and here, great news for the company with the doubling of the MRE, but so far shares only up 5.6%. We want to see basically an end-of-day close above the 50-day line, 1.04 pence. We do actually, in theory, have a bear trap iron reversal, one of the strongest setups around. So we gapped down in May and gapped up so far today. The key is to hold that gap as well and not have any end-of-day close back below 0.9 pence. But the trigger here for the bulls above the 50-day line up to 1.75 pence, perhaps as soon as the end of next month if the momentum builds. On to Ocado, which is not normally the kind of stock that I look at here, but really impressed with the £154 million loss, and that compared to the £2.7 billion market cap. So obviously somebody's doing something right there. We've got a bear trap iron reversal here with the 50-day moving average, which is rising, which suggests that actually, despite the loss, the shares could get up to 450 pence, and the top of that broadening triangle from April, while they're above the floor of the gap there, around £3.67. Going on to Polarean, which obviously had been in the wars for quite some time. Here you can see that we've got a rising trend channel base, top of the channel there, heading for 2.6 pence, and we're looking for that by the end of next month, while we remain above the floor of the channel there, around 1.5 pence. So hopefully that stock will behave itself for a change. On to Roadside Retail, which I interviewed, I think, last week. Rising trend channel there from January. We've had a bear trap rebound from below the rising 50-day line, which tends to be a decent intermediate buy signal above 10.8, and that February line looking for 19 pence by the end of next month. Be cautious, obviously, wait for a break of the recent highs, but that would be giving away some of the upside. On to the last two. First one is Spectra, which had a massive contract win, and here you can see that the shares have already been rising in a very orderly fashion. £2.80 at the top of the channel there. That's the minimum we're expecting probably by the end of this month, while we remain above the 50-day line around £2.40. Finishing off with Transense, and here another situation where we've had an unfilled gap to the upside off the low. We hit our first target there around £1.26. Above that, looking for a fresh target by the end of, actually probably the end of this month, as high as £1.50. And that's valid while we hold above that 50-day line as well, around 127. Basically want to hold above the old target of 125. That's it for me today. More updates tomorrow.